The video you're about to watch has been made possible with support from KiwiCo, makers of beautiful maker kits for all ages from 0 to 103 and beyond. And we'll be covering what makes them remarkable and one of their kits specifically later on in the video. But for right now, let's get into it. Hey everybody, Adam Savage in my cave with a tool tip that is more of a tool category than a specific tool. It's one of the most common questions I get is about the tools that beginning makers should have in their shop. And it's not going too far to say the first tool any of us ever used was probably a hammer. And it's probably one that looks just like this. This is the hammer. Every house has one. Every one of us has used one. It's got this fork in the back, which is for lifting nails. What is a nail? A nail is the way we used to hold shit together. I haven't seen one in years, but you could still get them out of wood using one of these. And it's got this striking face, right? We know the parts of a hammer, but it's so much deeper than that. And I'm gonna go through a bunch of hammers that I use on the regular, but please understand, this is not a comprehensive hammer video. I recently actually saw a talk given by a person who was an actual expert in hammers. That's not me. I am not, so it's not comprehensive and it's not expertise. I am literally giving you a tour of the different things I use to whack stuff. And the first thing that I learned about hammers when I became a more developed maker was they don't have to be metal, actually. In fact, one of my favorite hammers is this thwacker, which is just a piece of, it's a Crown Tools. I'm not sure what this is. Might be hickory, might be maple. And it's just a straight two-piece wooden hammer. And that piece slips in there. And this is fantastic for moving stuff without marring it. And that's one of the issues with a metal hammer. But within the non-metallic hammers, there's this whole world that's really awesome. If you saw the armor making video of me making Excalibur armor with Terry English in his shop in England, we used a lot of these phenolic hammers. And these are different types of high density plastics with different shapes for hammering out the aluminum, hammering out the metal, and using it to get shapes. So it's pretty easy to see that if I smack a piece of aluminum with this, as opposed to this, I'm gonna get a smoother detent out of it than this. This is gonna leave this sharp angle. I suppose if you had to, you could make an entire suit of armor using just this hammer, but it would be such a pain in the ass, no one would try it. So for moving around aluminum and hammering some of the lighter metals, I absolutely rely on these phenolic hammers a ton. And there are many more shapes than this. I have, I think, 7 or 8 in total. And I've used all, as you can see from their marking. And by the way, like every hammer has written on it when you buy it from the hardware store, don't do this with hammers. We did a whole episode of Mythbusters on it. Don't do that with hammers. The reason you don't smack hammers together is because the hammer is a piece of metal forged into the hammer shape and then case hardened. It has to be case hardened so it can handle, but it can't be too hard. And if it is, it can shatter. And commercial hammers tend to be case hardened just a little bit past where they ought to be. And if you smack them into each other, they can shatter and parts can fly fast and they're searching for your eyes, man. They just want soft parts of your body to go through. Is that too dark? That's how I think about tools. They're out to get me. That's the proper mode of thinking with tools. Okay, so after phenolic hammers, we have replaceable tip thwackers. And honestly, this one with these little, what I think are like ultra high molecular weight plastic tips, I use more than most other hammers here. It gives me a nice fine control. It's got a narrow tip. I can get in, and because it's a non-marking face, I get so much done with this hammer. When I wear my apron, this lives right here and I use it 40 times a day. Along those same lines, I recently picked this up off eBay. Here's something maybe I shouldn't tell you, but beautiful hammers can be bought on eBay for $10 or $20 at the most. I picked this up for, I think, $11. Look at this beauty. Look at this masterpiece. It's a thwacker after my heart. It's just a little bit bigger than this. It's light. I can get little, I mean, for like the kind of gunsmithing that I've been doing with the Samaritan, tapping out pins, this is perfect. It's all the weight that I need for sensitive little tapping. eBay. This is a hammer, I think, made by the New Concepts fellows, the ones that made my water-cut titanium coping saws. This is another, New Concepts, K-N-E-W. And this is another replaceable head. And it's got a soft rubber head, a slightly hard rubber head, and I have several other faces for it. Again, a pretty critical thing to have in your shop. This is a lovely tool. Okay, let's move on to some more metal hammers. This, after you've seen this hammer, besides this and a mini sledge, the other hammer you've probably seen is this one. This is called a ball peen hammer. And it has, again, like this hammer, two sides. One is the striking face here, and then it's got this secondary striking face that is rounded. And that's called a peen, and because it's rounded and hemispherical, it is a ball peen. There are many different sizes of ball peens. I've got some smaller ones. I've even got some much bigger ones. And these are fantastic for rounding over the heads of rivets and many other armor-making operations. One of the main things I love about eBay purchases of tools is not actually the business end of the tool, it's frequently the handle that is the loveliest part of an inexpensive eBay tool purchase. Look at this handle for my favorite ball peen hammer. This handle is magnificent and it feels great. And again, way better than that, right? Like seriously, this is objectively better. Now that we're into the shape of the peen having a specific effect on what you're hammering, well, within blacksmithing and armor making, there is a king's ransom of hammers. And I'm just gonna show you a few. This might be the metal hammer peen that I use the most. I really like, again, clearly my wheelhouse is in the wide, narrow head. It is like a specific kind of control that I like. Your results may vary, but this one is what I use for rounding over rivets. It allows me to get into tight spaces where this one might not. So this is my favorite ball peen hammer, but there might be other operations I need to do where I don't need a compound curve. So here is a type of striking hammer with a simple curve instead of a compound curve that curves in two directions. And this allows me to straighten certain things out. And again, this is not a comprehensive view on how hammers work and what they're all for, because I'm sure that each of these has names and I don't know what those names are. I do know that that's called a cross peen because it is perpendicular to the line of the hammer. I don't know beyond that. Okay, so we've established there's a whole bunch of different armor hammers or peen and different shape faces for striking metals. And if you notice that, like, this, what I said is my favorite, this is another eBay find, and I think it was maybe 21 bucks for this beautiful, I mean, this is probably 100 years old. Yeah, get thee to eBay to find your hammer expansion. Before we go too much further, let's talk about KiwiCo and the things they make, because they are awesome, both the company and the things. As I said at the beginning, they make maker kits for kids of all ages, and they're built to introduce young makers to the ideas of STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, and they do a fabulous job of that. I've built several of their kits, and I found the experience rewarding, easy, simple, and the actual final result to be pretty satisfying. A driving ethos for KiwiCo is that small changes made today can yield big dividends tomorrow. And as a human being who was encouraged to make things when I was younger, I could not possibly agree more. That bit of encouragement matters so much to the future. When you give a kid a box of parts and they make something they didn't think was possible, you literally open up the entire world for them. It's not going too far to say that. This ballista, I can tell you, having built a full-size ballista, it has all the constituent parts. This is a great way to teach people how a ballista works, and it even comes with projectiles, so you can engage in some ye olde warfare with each other. It is a terrific company with terrific products, and I love supporting them. They even have instruction booklets that come with extra experiments you can do. For instance, the ballista will teach you about trajectories and even parabola if you want to get that deep into it. Tested viewers, I have a special offer for you. You get 50% off the first month of any crate that KiwiCo sells by going to kiwico.com/tested. All right, let's get back to the video. Now, within the jeweler's art, there are also hammers of every kind of striking face you could imagine, but on a much smaller scale, because jewelry making is not dissimilar from armor making in moving metal, stretching it, squashing it, all those operations. This is a set that I purchased, and I think I bought like 8 of them in a set, and they are very useful. These are made by True Strike by Eurotool. They are really lovely, and very recently I used one in a perfect application. I'm a tool hound. Like, when I find out something exists, I've just got to add it to my collection. So the fact that I could have a full set of like weird shapes large and weird shapes small, I totally had to do it. These aren't used very regularly by me, and probably because I don't work that small. Okay, now we get to the big thwackers, and like I said, this is one of my all-time favorites. As you can see from its face, it gets a lot of love here at the shop. This mini brass thwacker I made that gives me a lot of momentum out at the end of this arm. It may be just a little too heavy, but I love its form factor so much, it's gonna stick around. And then there's this, a nice big non-sparking head. The head is brass. Now, we use these all the time on Mythbusters because we were working in potentially flammable environments, so we had all manner of non-sparking heads. I just love the weight of the brass on this. I love this. I don't even think I have a mini sledge in the shop. This is the closest thing I have, and I just, I like the weight. I like the fact that it's not gonna mark steel. The last thing I want to show you is the only hammer here that I designed. And this is the hammer that I designed as a crew gift for the Mythbusters crew, I think at the end of season 3. I made 35 of these. And they're based, I think this one is serial number, oh no, this is 22. I still have 001 somewhere around here. I kept a couple. This is a simple piece of 2-inch steel, 4.5 inches long. Is that 2 inches? Yeah, 2-inch steel, 4.5 inches long, welded to a 1-inch piece of Schedule 40 plumbing pipe. And this is a design I copied from a 1940s steam fitters, pipe fitters hammer that I found. And it was made the same exact way. They'd taken just a billet of round steel, welded a handle with it. It was so old on modern plumbing pipe, the schedule of the pipe is usually stamped on it in ink. In the olden days, they used to do it with an actual physical stamp. So in this steam fitters hammer that I witnessed, you actually got to see Schedule 40 like etched in the side. It's just beautiful. I actually hired Dennis Kwan before he was a producer for Mythbusters, when he was interning for Jamie just to kind of learn the ropes. I hired him to turn for me all 35 of these handles with some knurling. It feels great. I then, after all the welding, I made a jig for welding these. I sent them off to have them all case hardened. And I call it the Convincer. It is one of my favorite designs of a thing that I have ever done. I can't believe I haven't shown it to you before, but it is a totally great way to end this. If you're an expert in hammers and I've gotten something painfully wrong, I apologize. But again, I am not an expert. This is not comprehensive. I just strike things with everything on this table on a regular basis, and I thought how I strike them would be useful for your edumacation. Thank you guys for joining me for this tool tip. I'm Adam Savage in my cave, and I will see you next time. I will describe to you the scene in which I gave these hammers to the entire Mythbusters crew. We were all at M7 outdoors because there was a enclosed outdoor space. We were having a barbecue. I broke these out and I gave them to everyone. And as you can imagine, a tool doesn't fulfill its purpose until it does what it's supposed to do. And here was the crew of Mythbusters and cast with a tool in their hands, and they wanted to use it for its purpose. They wanted to release the beast. And we had a car we had just filmed with, and everyone took their hammers over to this car. And we turned it into garbage in about half an hour. It was so much fun. Just like 30 people
at a barbecue just destroying a car with their brand new hammers. So much joy.